All right, sorry to keep you waiting. It's wonderful to be here. Talk about network AI agents in decentralized architecture, which is NANDA for short. And you're probably wondering where the word NANDA comes from. Well, it's the name of my sister, and actually she's right here, sitting in the front row, along with my brother and my other sister, Rita and Prakash. So thank you for being part of my story. And let's talk about NANDA. All right. So, a lot of us are worried about AI and is AI going to take our jobs? But even if AI doesn't take our jobs, there's one big worry many of you should be worrying about, which is, will there be one massive model that will say, I'm the best, diabetician in the world? Will there be exactly one math teacher model in the world, exactly one financial advisor in the world? That will be kind of, that will lead to a lot of despair because, a math teacher, in a village would be forced to just let the big model help the students. And there'll be not much left for the math teacher to do. And we'll all become intelligent slaves of saying, this is what the best AI model is doing, and that's how I'm going to teach. That's what I'm going to do all our work, right? So it's kind of a very centralized way of thinking about AI actually could be very problematic. And we need to kind of get out of this mainframe era of AI, because today we, much like in the 80s and 90s, we would write on a command line, the commands goes to some big central machine, it processes it and sends the information back to us. That is a mainframe way of thinking about it. From there, we will switch to the PC era of AI, where instead of renting AI, like paying $20 per month or per word or per token, we would just buy the model and just run it on our own machine and modify it. That's going to change, right? And once that happens, it'll be debatable whether we need these big machines sitting centrally. And once we have these AIs or micro AIs or AI agents running with us, we'll move to the intranet of AI, which is already happening in enterprises with big machines, to the internet of AI agents, where all of us have our own agents, and all of us are able to talk to each other. Our agents are able to talk to each other. And the internet was about connecting machines. The World Wide Web was about connecting people, and NANDA is about connecting agents. All right? So I want you to imagine millions, maybe billions, maybe trillions of AI agents, one for every one of us, that's communicating, navigating. The agents are talking to each other, learning from each other, transacting with each other, sometimes under our control, but many times autonomously. So how many of you created your own AI agent? All right, that's pretty good. So, during the break, go to join39.org, and the author of that, Maria, is going to be online in a few minutes. So, you should go and create your own AI agent. It's a lot of fun to do that. And, right now I'll show you how that would work, right? So if I just go to join39.org, I can just log in. Or I can, the bandwidth is not good. So, but when you log in, you can go to my agent, just search for Ramesh Raskar. You can talk to my agent, ask all kinds of questions, and so on. And I can, I think the lifestyle we live in, like right now, my lifestyle is I wake up in the morning, I spend 2-3 hours just answering my email, making sure everything is right, and I do a little bit of extra other work, right? But what will happen in the future is all our information, all our email, all our Slack, if you're a math teacher, everything that you're learning from your student, if you're a diabetician, what you're learning from a patient, you'll continue to create your own agent. And then your agent will be online working on your behalf. And you might charge people 10 rupees a query or 100 rupees a query, or maybe a million rupees a query, depending on how fancy your agent is. And we'll all feel very empowered to create our own agents, right? And our agents need to have identity. Just like if you move to a new city, we need a passport, we need an Aadhaar card, we have to register a house, we have to be authenticated, and so on, or PAN card. So like authentication, reputation is the foundation, the essentials. But then once you go to the city, we have to look for a job, see how much we're paid for. But in the agentic world, the agents similarly need their own passport, their own PAN card, their own Aadhaar. But these agents are going to look for a job. Like my agent is going to go look for a job, elsewhere. Say, hey, who's going to, send 5 rupees or 10 rupees a query to Ramesh's agent, right? So all of our agents were looking online for jobs. They'll be LinkedIn for agents, right? But very soon, that currency, that economy, that commerce is going to expand where, the agents will say, oh, we need our own banks, to transact in our own way. And over time, there'll be, just like right now, IPL stars, have a bake-off, has an auction, or agents will have auctions, and they'll be done on stock market, right? So agents will be helping not just our current stock market, which is very inefficient, but they will have their own stock market as well, right? And that's just the agentic commerce. But the third phase is even more interesting. If you move to a new city, it's not just about our identity and our jobs. We also start creating universities like this one. We get together, we create sports teams, we create justice systems, we create new religions, and so on. And the agents are going to do the same thing as well. They'll run their own justice system because some agents will misbehave or they'll be bad actors. Instead of starting banks, they'll start casinos, right? And so on. So they have to be managed. You need a new justice system to deal with these agents. Some agents will say, hey, I'll say Ramesh agent is not doing very well. Maybe he should go to university and get better education. So I'll send my agent to an agent university. He'll get better. And at some point, it starts doing even fancier. Maybe I was making 10 rupees a query. I'll start making 20 rupees a query, after getting a fancy degree for my agent, and so on. So as you can imagine, there's a lot going to happen in the next few years in this agent universe. And this is kind of the new intelligence economy we're going to live. How many people are excited about an agentic society? How many people are really scared? What about both? All right. So, all right. So I'm going to make 3 quick arguments. One is the why of it. I'll make an economic argument about it. Then the what. Like if you're building an agentic society, what are the risks in making that happen? And this is really a social mission. And the third one is how we're going to build this agentic society. And how to do this in a way that the agentic society is open and vibrant, safe and secure and fun. Right? So the very first question is, we're hearing about a group thing on AI infra buildup, right? As opposed to the onset of agentic web. So the news headlines are NVIDIA has a $5 trillion valuation, Oracle has a new $300 billion investment, and so on. Like a lot of crazy stuff is going on. And the question is this the right way it's going to go? Because if you think about the 1980s and 1990s, there was an overinvestment in, a lot of people know about the dot-com crash, right, from 2000 to 2001. But it was not a crash for the internet. It was a crash because there's an overinvestment in the telecom infrastructure. And now people are talking about an AI crash that's coming up as well in the next year or two. And it won't be the AI crash, it will be most likely an AI crash of the buildup, an overinvestment in the buildup, the chips and foundation models, and data centers and so on. We don't know, right? That's what people are talking about. Now, whether that crash happens or not, I think a bigger opportunity, especially in developing countries like India, is actually instead of focusing billions of dollars on that kind of infrastructure, we can actually start focusing on the agentic web. Okay? And the reason for that is even the company that's creating this, excitement about centralized AI, with centralized AI buildup, NVIDIA, is actually telling us something else. One of the most amazing papers from NVIDIA is that the small models are the future of agentic AI. Because models that right now are like 600, 700 billion parameters will be actually below 1 billion parameter. They will run on edge devices. They can run on your laptops, on your PC, on your microwave, your car, and so on. And they'll be very tuned for a particular task. So that's exciting. That really changes the way we think about large models. The second is, what's the risk? Like as we start building this internet, as we start building this World Wide Web of AI agents, the agentic web, what could happen? So if you think about the World Wide Web in the 1990s, Tim Berners-Lee, how many people here know about Tim Berners-Lee? The inventor of World Wide Web, right? He was able to keep the World Wide Web open also at MIT because they figured out how to make certain things open source, open protocols, and deal with like a lot of struggles back then about browser wars. Microsoft was trying to create Netscape, and AOL was trying to create its own walled gardens and so on. And the new organizations emerge to support DNS through ICANN and World Wide Web Consortium and Mozilla and so on. So that's, so the World Wide Web is very vibrant and open. Anybody can go start a website, start a business, start a show, whatever you want. But on the other hand, other ecosystems like iOS and Android or Facebook and Twitter are very walled gardens, where there's a limitation on what you can do. You cannot go and just create another social media platform. Or if you're on Facebook, you cannot talk to Twitter. Even if on Facebook, there's only so many things you can do, right? So these are all walled gardens. And same thing with iOS and Android. All the value is extracted by a couple of companies that are out there. So on the left is how you would imagine a open internet of AI agents would look like, where you have open protocols, open standards, and then anybody can create an agent like you created on Join 39. Anybody can start a business. Anybody can have new innovations. The math teacher can say, I'm going to create an amazing agent, and I'm going to launch it. And she might launch it on one agent store, sort of an app store, and the next day move it to another agent store because she doesn't like the first agent store. Complete interoperability. The same way you can switch your phone from one carrier to another carrier, for example. A closed platform will look more like iOS and Android, where anything you do, if you create a new app, you create a new software, new modality, you must convince one of these players to launch it, and then you cannot talk to another app on the same phone. It must go through some ecosystem, and even if you have to reach any user, you can only reach the user that are already on that platform, right? So it all sits behind this agent store, and that's what the definition of walled garden is. And also companies will get disintermediated. So Uber right now, you can call Uber or Ola and say, hey Alexa, hey Siri, hey ChatGPT, get me an Uber in 5 minutes. It might show up, but that's not good for Uber, because what Uber or Ola wants is we have a direct relationship with their own customers, right? So they want to be able to upsell. They want the data from their customers. If you order a taxi, they also try to suggest you some food that might be available that's for pickup nearby, and so on. So disintermediation is a big problem. And the biggest challenge with walled gardens is there are algorithms that are very opaque. We don't understand how some of them work or are never shared. I think the best way to think about this is there are new toys that are coming this Christmas, where children can talk to a Furby or a toy in a ChatGPT-like manner, right? Just think about 6 or 8-year-old kid talking to a system. So think about what could go wrong, right? There could be addiction, there could be misinformation, the children could be exposed to improper material, and so on, and we'll have no control over how the systems are working, right? So working in a closed system could be very, very problematic. There's another challenge, which is if you don't keep the agentic web open, what could happen in the next 6 months is that there'll be a very intense protocol war, and the companies try to make sure that their protocols are winning. And then platforms that already have hundreds of millions of users can say, we will create an agent for you instead of join39.org or something like that. They'll say, hey, you're on LinkedIn, you're on Facebook, you're on WhatsApp, whatever platform you're in. We will convert you into an agent for you overnight, and then stay within our walled gardens, right? And they will create the network effects like you have on these platforms already. And there's nothing else you can do. And 6 months after that, you could have this duopoly or oligopoly where there's so many dependencies on that particular ecosystem that you cannot do anything else outside that. So if you're in Global South in a country like India, there's nothing really you can do because 2 or 3 platforms have figured out how to serve all the agents in the world, right? And there goes innovation. There goes the 20-30% of revenue you have to share every time you make some money. And of course, there are opaque algorithms. And this is a scenario that could lead to the what I was talking about earlier, which is just one math teacher for the whole world, one financial advisor for the whole world. Because what's the point of having 100 million agents or a million financial advisor? Because there's just one that the company itself has released, which is better than everybody else's agent. So there's no need for an agentic commerce because there's just one that's better than everybody else. So what are we going to do, right? And that could lead to a lot of despair and unrest, because I think all of us believe in kind of the shared prosperity and middle class, and people get excited to wake up in the morning and do their work because they think they're contributing somehow. It's an exciting new day, that they have their own creativity, they're learning something every day, and they're converting their learnings into better income for them and for their family and for the neighborhood. So that's, it could be game over in 18 months if you don't keep the agentic web open. There's this green curve, a more optimistic curve, where we all ensure that we only use two-way open protocol and open standards, refuse to get into wall gardens, and we start creating .orgs, like in India for UPI and Aadhaar. There are all these non-profits, that run, and PSC and so on. They run these big systems. They keep them mostly free and open, and then everybody can build a business on top of that. Right? All of you are, beneficiary of that. So a bunch of .orgs emerged, and then over time the long tail wins. There are millions of businesses, billions of users that are all free and open, and they can, overcome the challenge of a duopoly or oligopoly, right? And that's how, if you read about Adam Smith's Invisible Hand, about how the middle class survived even during the Industrial Revolution, when the concern was that the craft, that all the machinery can produce material that's better than any particular, artist or a craftsman. But we figured out how to keep the society humming, with again a middle class and shared prosperity. So, how many of you think we will end up on the red curve? Okay, so you're given up. And how many people think we can actually fight and keep it open? All right, more hands. That's good news. All right, so we're going to talk about how we're going to keep this open and vibrant, and give you some ideas on what that could be. I think the very first possibility in a country like India is that we have the jam trinity, but what if every citizen has their own AI agent, right? If we did that, then we have a whole new rail for digital public goods, and many startups, many businesses, existing corporations can build on top of that. Just the way Aadhaar and UPI and bank accounts change the way people think about, the digital economy in this country, right? So I hope many of you will work on this. We're going to announce this in the next few weeks. If you're a researcher, developer, join us. We'll post a link for this, and we're already on the way to create, this particular type of a global platform. The next 1.4 billion agents, because 1.4 billion out of roughly 20% of the world population is actually free and open. There'll be very little risk left of one single company trying to do something bigger than 1.4 billion. Right? The other one is how are we going to do this? So anybody here has been to Kumbh Mela? Pretty good people. Okay. So as you know, I was at Prayagraj earlier this year in January, but the next Kumbh Mela is happening in Nasik, very close from here. Anybody from Nasik here? Wow, good population. Excellent. So you know what I'm talking about. 30 million, about 3 crore people show up for 30 days. And on the left side is what the pilgrims are looking for. But on the right side are all amazing opportunities, amazing challenges that emerge because of that, right? And if you're a developer, if you're a project manager, if you're a policy person, you're like, wow, okay, on the left is what people are looking for, but what I really need to solve are things on the right, right? So if you want to build an agentic community, right, we need to create a whole city stack, that's built on AI agents in urban domains. And we're already on our way to do this. There's different ways to think about how we can make a difference, because a lot of people say, wow, AI and Kumbh Mela, we never thought about that. But just realized that how amazing the Prayagraj Kumbh was, pretty savvy. And we still have 2 years, it's summer of 2027 for the Nasik Kumbh Mela. And I'm going to ask Rishabh Vora and Mr. Shaker Singh to just say for 30 seconds. Just stand up and just So Mr. Shaker Singh is the head of Kumbh Mela. He's come here to invite all of you. Go ahead, Mr. Shaker.
I don't know if I'm audible.
This
this is Shekhar Singh. I've recently joined as commissioner for Nashik Kumbh Mela. It's sort of it's a very new role for me. I was just until recently municipal commissioner at Pimpri Chinchwad and BCMC, and I've joined about 15 days back. As a lot of things, I can't speak much about what's happening, but very open to collaborate with all of you. Whoever thinks what was just shown by Professor Raskar in terms of what you can deliver, and collaborate with us so that we can go a step beyond what Prayagraj did and much better than what Prayagraj did, and finally deliver for the millions of people who are visiting. It's not 30 million. What we're expecting is probably 80 million to 100 million this time. And that's the kind of scale that we're expecting. So absolutely open to collaborate with all of you. Thank you.
Go ahead. Rishabh is the head of Kumbhathon, which is the official incubator for Maharashtra government to think about incubation. Go ahead, Rishabh.
Alright, hello, my name is Rishabh Vora. I'm from Nashik and I'm the ecosystem manager at Kumbhathon Innovation Foundation. Like sir mentioned, we are a government recognized incubation center. So without getting too technical, if any one of you is interested in working towards Kumbh Mela, we are the place to be at. Please feel free to get in touch with me. And the idea is as simple as this. I'm sure the sound of it is very exciting. Imagine an innovation that you build impacting 80 million people, 8 crore people. 8 crore is like, I don't know, in Prayagraj, the recorded number was 60 crore people. That's like more than half of the population of the country. And another similar event is happening in Nashik in 2 years from now. So what we are trying to look at Kumbh Mela as a platform for innovations, and that's what we are trying to do. So that is what Kumbhathon is all about, and would love to interact with any one of you who is seeking to build and innovate for the Kumbh Mela. Thank you.
Thank you, Rishabh. They're sitting in the front row, so you can grab them. And a lot of people, when I think about Kumbh Mela, think about infrastructure problem, what we call Ring 1 problems. But the AI agents, the agentic first Kumbh Mela is really good for Ring 2 and Ring 3. Ring 2 is access, like registration systems, information systems, some kind of a shared economy for housing, transport, and so on. And Ring 3 is the experience, payments, language, AR, VR, TV rights, and so on. So within the agentic AI, it's going to be very powerful in Ring 2 and Ring 3. So don't worry about crowds and sanitation and safety. I think Mr. Shekhar Singh's team are very capable of handling that, but help them on the Ring 2 and Ring 3 aspect of it. All right? And as Rishabh said, it's a very dynamic ecosystem, so you should engage with that. All right. And then finally, how we're going to build this open agentic web. So as I said, by having 1.4 billion citizens, having events that tap into the agentic AI, we can potentially prevent from the agentic web becoming a very closed system where the global south, developing countries have very little role to play, right? So now, when we do want to build an open agentic web, we don't want to build intercoms, like one agent can talk to another agent, but you want those agents to be on the internet so they can talk to each other, right? And how many of you have heard about MCP from Anthropic or A2A from Google? All right, this is a pretty savvy audience. That's fantastic. So think of MCP and A2A as message passing, but what we need to do with Nanda is actually build the whole internet, whole phone system, right? So here's an example, right? If I had to call in the Four Seasons Hotel in Abu Dhabi and their corporate sales, right now to look it up, the country code for UAE, the city code for Abu Dhabi or state code, the phone number for Four Seasons and their extension, for the corporate sales. In the future, you'll just say, can you give me the corporate sales or Four Seasons at Abu Dhabi? And the agent will take care of everything. Nevertheless, it's kind of amazing how open and vibrant the telephone system today is, because all the countries got together and said, let's just choose our country code. India said, let's get +91. UAE said, I'll get +971. US was first, it's just +1. And then after that, the countries can do whatever they want. They can run on AT&T, or they can run on Verizon, or they can run on Airtel. They can do whatever they want after that thing is done. And the same thing for cities. Cities can take the code and on and on and on. So there is a hierarchy, but there's a lot of autonomy, a lot of freedom, and how each system is doing. So, the Four Seasons Hotel can change their extension system anytime they want, right? They're not locked into some kind of a closed ecosystem that's out there. Now, again, it's magical that once that phone number is set up, you can be anywhere in the world. You could be on a landline, you could be on a mobile phone, you can be on an IP phone, and you can dial this number and you get connected. Isn't that magical? So imagine if you can do the same thing with agents. Doesn't matter where you're running the agent, your own agent, whether it's in the cloud, whether it's on your phone, or inside your organization, you can connect to any agent anywhere in the world. Okay? And that's the future that we want to build for agentic web. So a lot of people get confused when they talk about AI agents versus agentic web. The left of this diagram is like AI agents, how to use True AI and LangChain and ADK and so on to build the agents. That's the right side of this diagram, which is great. It's like building a telephone, it's like building a PC, right? But the question is, how do you build the telephone system? How do you build the internet? And the left side of this diagram is like the OSS stack of the internet, and this is what needs to be built. And the good news, at least for now, is that very few people have built it yet. So there's no locked-in system. So any entrepreneur, any state, any country can start building the pieces on the left and create, how these phones, how these PCs, how these agents talk to each other, right? And that's what Nanda is all about, because now we're in a post-AI world. Just like when PCs were pretty good in the early 90s, we're in a post-PC world. And definitely we're in a post-telephone world. So right now we are kind of in a post-AI world. So connecting those AIs, connecting those micro AIs is more important than just making those AIs better and better. So even if you're reading in magazines and everywhere in news, like, oh, they're making the AI even better, they're just going from like 96% accuracy to 97% accuracy. It's like we got 1/3 better, 25% better. But it's diminishing return after this point. For most of the things we do in our life, our businesses, our work, and so on, 95, 96% accuracy is more than enough. So we're kind of in a post-AI world. But if you're doing like drug discovery or medical prediction or weather forecasting, yes, you need amazingly good models, better and better. But at this stage, it's good enough. So that connecting them is more important. And this was the most important slide of this presentation, which is these 3 phases. And we believe every box in this diagram is like worth billions of dollars of new economic activity, possibly new startups, new corporate businesses, and so on. So as you saw on the left is the foundation. It's like, how do you get Aadhaar card? How do you get a passport? How do you get reputation? How do you get credit rating? For an agent, right? It's identity, reputation, security, and so on. The second column is very interesting, where you're now trying to build a commerce, an economy around those agents. So the bottom row is the syntax, which is like MCP, A2A. And there's for transactions, there are new protocols like AP2, agent payment protocol from Google, or X.402 from companies like Coinbase and others. So the bottom row are protocols and syntax, but the middle plane is the system plane. Middle row is the system plane, and the top row is the global plane. And that's where the real excitement is, right? As I said, the agentic commerce, we can just talk about that, for next few days. It's a really exciting opportunity. So if you're a developer, if you're a startup, if you're a university, I'm teaching a course right now on agentic web. As far as I know, it's the only course in the whole world that's being taught on agentic web. And we're going to make the course open source. And in end of January at MIT, we will teach a 3-day version of my semester-long course. So you can sign up for it. We'll have some mechanism for anybody in the world to participate. So if you're an instructor, if you're a teacher, go teach courses in agentic web, of course, agentic AI as well. And as I said, the way this is going to play out is very interesting. We have a lot of amazing people sitting in the front row here, first couple of rows. And my agent, Ramesh agent, would love, to pick up some agent. I see Mr. Sarunke sitting here, right? I would say, hey, the Uday agent, can I buy 1/2 kilogram of Uday agent? And what does it mean? How do I measure it? What's the 1/2 kilogram of agent Uday's intelligence versus 1 kilogram? How do I price it, right? Is it worth, 100 rupees, 1,000 rupees? Maybe it's worth 1 crore rupees. He's a pretty fancy guy. And then once I have bought it, can I reuse it somewhere else, right? Because let's say I bought it for a crore, but then next day I start selling to a bunch of people for 10 lakh rupees, then his value is going to go down in the market, right? It's like DRM, rights management. When I download music, I can only use it for myself, but not for anybody else. So you can imagine how many things have to go right to do this. And we know how to build stock markets. That's how trading happens, right? So imagine the stock market for agents and their value and what they're doing. And by the way, if I start realizing that Uday's agents are worth ₹1 crore, I'm going to get very excited. Like, wow, that's a lot. Let me figure out what he did to make it that smart. I'm going to make my agent better and better as well, right? I'm going to send my agent to an amazing top-ranked agent university to do that, and we start competing. At some point, I would say, Uday, hey, I'm not going to be as good as you, but what I have is you don't have. So two of us should team together and do something better. And two of us will have even better. It's like having a team that has a good bowler and a good batter and a good fieldsman. That team is significantly more valuable than just the sum of those 11 players. So that's how companies start. So you can imagine those agents will start finding each other, saying, hey, if you just pair up, if you create a team of 10, 12, 100 people, 100 agents, we can build amazing organizations, right? But unlike here, where I know Uday personally, the agents may not know each other at all. And they might I might find an agent that's sitting in Philippines and saying, let's work together. Because even I personally may not know, but my agent has figured out how to trust that agent in Philippines. So you could imagine how it's going to be cross-silo, cross-border, cross-intelligence, that goes on together. And then again, agentic society, I won't spend as much time on that today. And this is what we have been working on in my team at MIT for the last 10 years. How do we create agents that become smarter on their own through AutoML? How can they train on data and not disclose it? Privacy-preserving machine learning. How do you price knowledge, what I just mentioned? And how do you do this in a decentralized way, like a stock market, without revealing anything else that I was talking about earlier? So if you're interested in writing papers, doing research, the Nanda platform has many researchers. They meet every Friday. The paper gets written every week or two, many co-authors. So just join the team, start a chapter here in Mumbai. Actually, wait, we're going to start a chapter today for Mumbai. You're going to hear about that a little bit later. And there's some amazing research that's coming out from my team and a lot of our collaborators that are out there as well. So one problem, as I said, like I might have Uday's agent, my agent, but we want to learn from each other. So we call that a co-learning problem. It's a very beautiful mathematical problem. Like we know how to train one AI model, or we know how to train one AI agent, but how can two AI agents learn from each other in a very lightweight manner? So we call it co-learning. So take a look at that. Or in agentic economy, as I said, there are a lot of sub-problems that you have to solve. Data pricing, knowledge pricing, knowing that the model that you're using is the model that was used yesterday. Because an agent might come up and say, hey, each query is 1,000 rupees. And then at some point, it just drop and start using a really old, really low quality language model and still charging 1,000 rupees. So it could be like a pump and dump schemes where it builds up its reputation, but then in some days it just serves really poor answers. So a lot of sub problems here to solve that kind of mimic the bad actors in human society as well. So these are the 6 major research roadmaps that we invite you to participate. Agentic devices, agentic adapters, how you do teaming that I just mentioned, co-learning, and so on. It's a pretty intense topic, but we have a very nice staircase for you. If you're just starting out doing research, if you're just starting out writing new code, we take you through this process that's out there. And of course, this is a very big tent at Project NANDA. So we have many collaborators from all over the world, all the big tech companies, a lot of governments, a lot of universities, a lot of famous individual contributors are part of this network. As I said, the papers that are coming out are written by some of the top people in the field. Maybe the first few papers you write, you may not be a first author, but you get to work with, some really top talent in the world that's thinking about agents and agent networks. I'm going to skip this and mention very briefly, which is the very first problem you have to solve is the phone book for AI agents. How many people here know about domain name servers? Wow, it's a very savvy audience. So domain name servers, for those of you who may not have heard about it, if you type yahoo.com, it goes to a particular address. If you say, hey, send a letter to Ramesh Raskar, there's a post office in Cambridge, Massachusetts, that know where exactly I live, right? So it kind of maps the name to the address. And this is very important for the internet, as you can imagine, because yahoo.com could change their servers, but they register saying, we used to be on this IP address, Now we're at this other IP address. And they have to go and update that. The challenge is if you have, there are only about 300 million websites, but there'll be billions, possibly trillions of AI agents. So the phone book, the directory of this trillion agents has to be maintained by somebody, right? And one very simple solution would be just collect one long file that's 1 trillion long, but of course it will be very difficult to maintain, and somebody could control it. A big tech company could just control it. So if you're here in Vidyavihar and you say, hey, I just created an awesome agent, for the Mumbai Indians, your favorite cricket team, or something like that, I want to make some money off amazing services this agent provides. There's nothing you can do because you have to call somebody or you have to do something to get your agent listed on this directory of 1 trillion agents. They could say, oh, we're going to charge you $100 if you want to get this done in 1 day, or we'll charge you only $100 if it takes like a month to get online, and so on. So you could imagine that this phone book, this directory, which should be public good, just like on ONDC, the goal is to make sure that all the sellers and buyers can list themselves without having to pay for it. The similar problem exists here. And this is a massive opportunity. This is a choke point. Whoever controls that phone book, whoever controls that directory, can potentially control the agentic web. So this is the first problem we worked on. Fortunately, we have a lot of great partners and great collaborators. And we said that we should create this hybrid solution, just like the phone numbers, where in UAE, you would dial +971, which is the switchboard. But then how the country handles it internally is their own public or private registries, public or private directories, and so on. And again, even this particular directory should not be controlled by MIT in Massachusetts. It should be controlled by everybody else. It should be governed, not controlled by everybody else. So we have 15 top AI universities and neutral organizations that are working together to maintain this trillion-long directory of AI agents. There's one country which is not on this map that you can see, and we're working very hard. If anybody is interested in participating, let us know. All right. We'll talk a little bit about, we have to create all kinds of adapters, how they would talk to each other. Nevertheless, there's going to be a lot of agent chaos, right? Because as I said, we have to create this agent registry, this directory. We have to figure out how to discover these agents, because there are trillions of agents, and a large fraction of them are going to be bad actors. They're either trying to steal your money, steal your identity, or behave good one day and not behave good the next day. So, security, privacy, bad actor, all these issues are going to just explode for all of this. So those of you worried about losing jobs, actually the agents are going to create so much chaos. Some of them will be white coded. Nobody knows how to maintain them, how to upgrade them, how to move them from one system to another system. There's going to be a lot of chaos, and it's going to create a lot of new jobs and a lot of new exciting opportunities as well. So I think the agent chaos is, again, a fantastic opportunity for many startups, many enterprises to start thinking about it now before it becomes an established mechanism by some other bigger interests. All right. Anybody in this room thinking about some of these topics here? I got some emails from you. Okay, there's a good set of companies and startups already thinking about some of these issues. So, I talk to founders and investors and companies all the time. It's an amazing time to go start a company in this space. At least in the US, they're raising billions of dollars on these topics for agentic web right now. Okay, it's a very, very hot area. I would say AI is already getting a little bit old. AI agents are sufficiently new, but the agentic web is where a lot of the action is. All right. A little bit later, you'll hear from Maria about how we can have a sandbox and a test bed. Because as I said, if you're a toy company and you want to release a toy in the market, how do we know as a consumer that it's well tested? It's not going to have inappropriate content or addiction parameters, or misbehaving in other ways before I buy this toy, right? So you have CE marks, or you have the lead marks, all these things. So somebody has to be out there, kind of certifying all these AI agent systems that are coming out in the world. So we said, let's build that, at MIT. And of course, we're making it open to everybody. So any of you can go to Nest, and I think we sent you a link on the Luma Blast. You can go and launch your own agent. We have all the basic code base for you, and then go from there and test the agents that you're building, how they're behaving, as well. We have about, I don't know, about 1,000 agents. We have a large cluster of them in India as well. All right. And then all of you are going to go and create your own AI agent, join 39.org. And then to conclude, we have, this 3-phase roadmap. Agents need their own foundations and essentials. They're going to engage in commerce. They're going to create agentic societies. We are not here to build a particular, agent builder like, LangChain or Crew AI and so on. We're not trying to build a single registry, a single phone book, and it's governed by 15, maybe 500 new entities that will participate in this. It's a very active, GitHub community that's building all kinds of different things. The index is the phone book that I was talking about, the adapter, a new GoDaddy for, the agentic web, a new Yahoo, a new Google, and so on. And then a lot of innovations, as I said, we can create an agent for every citizen. So come work with us if you're interested in that. We're thinking about how to change, how to work in sandboxes like Kumbh and Kumbhathon. In addition, there are a lot of regional chapters for Agentic Web and Nanda now. So we have one in Boston, one in Bangalore, one Bay Area. We just launched one in UAE. And I heard today's an auspicious day to start one here in Mumbai. There's also a fellows program where many companies are contributing their own engineers to the open source, but you can actually apply to a role to get paid to contribute to in a serious way to the open source. So apply to the fellows program. It's open source. Join us to write research papers, white papers, and so on. Go to projectnanda.org. And there's also youth council. If your child or your nephew or somebody like that, and he's in high school or first year of college, there's a whole youth council for Nanda. You can join that because I think the youth is going to really, just like climate rights. The next generation is going to make sure that we build the agentic web. That's more safe and secure and fun, unlike what we ended up doing for social media. So to conclude, I think the why is obvious. As AI moves from mainframes to our edge devices, agents are going to be everywhere. Every one of us is going to have an agent, but the agentic web cannot be an intercom. It has to be like a telephone system. It has to be like a stock market. It's like cities. It's like smart cities, but mimicking in the agentic world. At the same time, you have to realize that the window to keep the agentic web open is closing. We must act now. Thank you. I think we can take some questions. How do you want to do this? So go ahead, yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Hello everyone. My question is for these decentralized registries, why don't we use blockchain? We already have an existing technology which makes it decentralized. We know that every agent should have its decentralized identity and over the decentralized servers so that no single authority controls it as it happens for the domains. We have to buy paying huge dollars.
Yeah.
So why don't we use blockchain and building our own?
No, that's a very good question. So as I said, it's a hierarchy. So at the top level, it might look like a simple phone book. There are only about, let's say, 50 to 100 or maybe 1,000 different agent stores. That's like it's like .com, for DNS world. But then how every state, every city, or every company manages, the Four Seasons manages their extension using some particular system, maybe a Cisco system internally. But every registry at the lower and lower level in the hierarchy could be built with whatever system they want. So maybe the state of Maharashtra says we'll use blockchain, but Gujarat might say we'll use some other technology. That's perfectly fine. Or your company, let's say you have 100,000 employees in a company, you could say we're going to actually maintain the internal extension, which is the internal phone book through blockchain. So any employee in our company is sufficiently decentralized, and any employee can create any agent they want, and they can list it on the phone book of AI agents. So you have the flexibility, but you can't have it at the top level because what if you walk up tomorrow and say, what's the famous company here? Geo. You want the Geo agent. It's like, okay, how do you know what's the name?
Satyam Single.
Satyam. So Satyam Single is like maybe you can only get at Satyam symbol or at Satyam or based on your Aadhaar card or something like that. Just give some governance your identity authentication, like a KYC, it'll be KYA, know your agent, and that has to be anchored to some identity. There'll be some floating, agents that has no identity, almost like a dark web. There's no identity for websites and no, certificate, no CAs attached to it. There could be some floating agents that are low stakes, saying, "Hey, my agent just gives you scores for cricket matches." It's like, okay, sure. I don't really worry about dealing with you because you're free and you're not charging me. But let's say you have to book a ticket, on Make My Trip. Then Make My Trip needs to know who your agent is. And so on. So you can see like a different ecosystem where some agents are very high stakes and they're very secure. And most agents will be good enough to be anchored on, say, Aadhaar card or some identity system. But there'll be some low stakes agents as well that could be on blockchain.
So in a nutshell, can we say that building out an blockchain-based solution over an existing blockchain, as like Binance is built over Ethereum, we could build some like another blockchain for Nanda over this with a KYA could solve this problem?
Again, maybe for low stakes agents, which don't require identity, but even then you can use blockchain. Maybe you don't use Ethereum for it, but you use some other blockchain. So that's just a ledger, right? So those are all good technologies.
Thank you.
So there's one next to you.
Hi, I'm Charlie. I had a small question. So you mentioned about like combining those AIs and creating something which can be helpful. But don't you think when the agentic AI concept is used, that could result in a lot of job loss in the future because everything will be automated and everything can be done in a matter of minutes. But then how will that agentic AI thing can ensure more job creation?
We can get AI, but not AV ever. So that will keep. If you're an AV, your job is safe. So it's difficult to predict, to be honest. There will be massive shift. As jobs and job descriptions shift. Because remember, jobs don't go out of fashion; skills go out of fashion, right? So how do you make sure that you know which skills are going to be useless and which skills are going to be useful? And that's a prediction. You can't take billions of people and encourage them to start shifting in their skill base. So it is a massive problem. When I was talking about this challenge where there could be exactly one diabetic agent, only one, financial advisor, only one math teacher, it's a different problem, which is even if people have jobs, they will not be motivated to do the jobs. Because who wants to take a master AI that tells exactly what they should do? I mean, today, for example, if I give you, a multiplication of 2 3-digit numbers, and you give me a number, I won't trust you. I will still use my own calculator, and you won't be offended. But imagine tomorrow you're a math teacher. You said you don't know how to teach children. Just do exactly what I'm telling you to do, right? That would be a very different change in your hope and despair that you're talking about. So again, I'm not an economist, but those of you here who study about behavioral economy and policy, you should be looking at this. Like, what would happen in this highly centralized AI world that even if you have a job, you're just an intelligence slave, or some, downstream slave. So I'm talking about the second challenge, and the benefit of thinking about AI agents, especially in countries like India, is that we have to figure out how does every one of us have a way to contribute to our own motivation, our own joy, which is why we call it Nanda, right? Nanda means joy, and at the same time, it allows you to contribute to the society. So my assumption is that it's unlikely that a math teacher or any one of us is going to train our own AI agent from scratch. So we'll likely buy a piece of software that does about 80% of the work, right? So even a math teacher might download a piece of software and an AI agent, that's about 80% good. But for the last 20%, the math teacher or the financial advisor is like, actually, I know my own clients much better than what a centralized agent created by somebody in California would know, right? And they would work every day, just like you work every day, to become better. All of you are here because you think you could learn something more. You'll be motivated to work on the last 20% to make it better and better and better. So we think that's where the economic argument is, that instead of centralized AI, if you have decentralized agentic commerce, then everybody gets to participate in the last 20-30%, which is what we do today as well. We go to a college, we go to get a degree, and then what's in the textbook is not good enough. Every day we go well beyond what's in the textbook. And the same thing is likely going to happen with AI agents. So these are two slightly different arguments. One is about job losses because of centralized AI, and whether we'll be on the green line that I was showing you, where AI agents can do 80% of what we could do, but the last 20% is what really makes us better.
Thank you. Just one question. What skills would you tell students to have to build agentic AI? I'm a student.
You can talk to my agent about that. No, I think the number one skill is communication, which you're already good at. So when somebody says ask a question, raise your hand. We always get told by our mothers, sit in the front row and raise your hand. That's because you want to learn how to communicate. And most importantly, you raise your hand even before you know what the answer is or what you're supposed to say, right? If you've seen some of my videos, when I was, I was a very shy person, and when I was in college, one of my friend Adish, he said, "Oh, the reason you're shy is because you don't talk." And I said, "What does it mean?" And he said, you should open your mouth before you know what you're going to say, or before what you thought, and you should start a sentence before you know what the last part of the sentence is going to be, right? And by the way, that's exactly what LLMs are. They start saying the next word in autoregressive, and they don't know what they're going to end the sentence with. But they already start saying, the moment you type, you hit the enter, the signal has barely gone to Cupertino or to California, and they already start talking something. You know how that works? Everybody knows how that works? They're just, they're just repeating. They just take the question and just start saying, let me tell you about this, but they haven't even thought about it. They start talking. So I think I would say number one is communication skills. Second one is critical thinking. And I think there's something magical about math and coding, which allows you to create highly generalizable skills, and so on. So I think those three things are very, very big.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Let's go to the back. Let's take some questions from the back. How much time do we have for?
Hi.
Yeah, go ahead.
I like the analogy of the phone numbers, but I've seen those yellow phone book directories.
Yeah,
so,
you're old enough to remember the yellow phone books.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
how do we enable people to search for phone numbers then? If there are too many
But I mean,
like that,
if there's
we have Google for searching websites, and there's indexing also.
Right.
So the second component of my question is that how do we benchmark or evaluate them, or give a rating system in a way? If how do I choose?
Yeah. So I mean, as much as we love Google, it's almost an anomaly, because if you had a phone book of all the websites and what they do, it's not that big. It's only 330 million websites, and if they all self-declared what's on the website, the whole file will sit on your laptop, right? The vector database of the 330 million websites. It will be very easy to do that, but it's kind of an anomaly of the internet era. And hopefully, in the agentic web, we won't have this strange, because as much as we love all these companies, what ends up happening if they are responsible for creating a phone book, then it's rent seeking, then it's bias prioritization, there's unnecessary censorship, there are opaque algorithms and so on. Like if you have to create an app and launch on App Store or Play Store, you have very little control. Who's going to see it? Maybe only the top 20 apps are listed in the Play Store and App Store. So if you launch an amazing app here in Mumbai, there's no guarantee anybody will ever use it. Unless you tell your friends, please go download it. And we want to avoid those problems in the agentic web, because all of us are going to be, reliant on, for the economy, on our own agents doing something interesting. That is in the digital ecosystem. Of course, the physical ecosystem, we haven't talked about it yet. So when there are physical agents, which we didn't cover today, it's also an interesting problem. But for now, we're talking about kind of knowledge agents and digital agents. Let's take one last one. All right. Go ahead, in the front here, the white shirt.
I have like two questions.
Keep it short. Yeah, because we have Maria coming online.
So within the recent Anthropic papers, it has been shown that the current LLMs may act unethical if it's like self-preservation or something similar. If it is my AI agent and I ask you to do something, and somewhere within the middle of that it causes harm to a person,
Right.
or it executes a tool call in a manner where it breaks the system, who's responsible for that? The person who made the model,
Right.
or the behavior of this?
Yeah, and it's a good question, right? If your car hits somebody, is the car responsible or the driver responsible, right? And the way we solve that is the car has an insurance. Because certain times the car will do something that you thought you could control, but you couldn't control. There are many companies now building insurance for AI agents. It's actually a big business, right? People are doing hedging on AI agents and so on. So it's like you can take every problem, the way we solve every problem in our society, and people are already thinking about how that's going to happen in the agentic society. So, so there's delegation. What if you gave your car to somebody else and hit somebody? Are you responsible, or the person who's driving responsible? Both are responsible, right? But how do you take care of the delegation and take the chain of? So if the original agent used an Aadhaar card, but the next agent who borrowed the first agent's capabilities and delivered it, what does it mean? And in the agent system, the chain could be very, very long. It could be 10 long. By the time, if you're the CEO of a company, it could be 10 long in terms of delegation. As you can see, more questions than answers, which also means for entrepreneurs, for researchers, for policymakers, like a fresh new area to work in. I mean, I just cannot sleep. It's such an exciting time to start thinking about how agents are going to create a society that's more humane, more synergistic, and actually create shared prosperity.
One more question related to that.
Yeah, we'll do it later. So thank you so much. And we're going to now switch to some online demos. So Maria is going to join. Maria Gorshik, she's on our team at MIT. And she's going to share very briefly some of these demos. How many people here? So some people created the Join 39 demos, which anybody can create. How many people did that? Join39.org. And how many people created an agent that's deployed on Nest or the Sandbox, which requires more code? We got a few. Okay, that's pretty good. That's fantastic. All right. So Maria is going to explain to you. She's from our team at MIT. She woke up early. It's like 5:30 a.m. there right now, 6:30 a.m. And she's going to share. All right. Go ahead, Maria.
All right. Hey, everyone. Can everyone hear me?
There are about 400 people watching you. So. Can you say something?
Yeah, I'm saying. Oh, okay. Can you hear me now? Hello. All right. I can see myself. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. How does the audio work? I said, AV job will never solve it.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me know if you want me to say anything. Can you guys hear me?
Can you guys get in the back?
All right. All good?
But I'm going to just try.
Can you guys hear me now?
Just trying to get the audio.
All right. Yeah. Let me know when.
We can take one more question. Go ahead.
Yeah. So when it comes to numbers, what the government is trying to take a piece of it, trying to participate. How do we enable or like how do we manage that part? Because as soon as we want something, some resource, be it information, be it financial, be it something. So how do you consider the number of participation? There will be something going on there, right? Some research going on there, some discussion with government. How do you push some that?
Have the rails for identity, rails for transaction, rails for trading. Maria, can you say a couple of things? Just a testing 1, 2, 3.
Can you guys hear me? Am I audible?
The question was, if you want to join in research and writing papers, what's the mechanism? So if you just go to projectnanda.org, we have a whole mechanism on how you can start participating. It's a 3-step process to start writing research papers with us. You can be anybody in the world. The first step is very easy, which is just read a paper and write a review on it on LinkedIn. 2 paragraphs. That's step 1. Step 2 is you take another paper and write a much more detailed review. And the third step, you're already ready to work with us as a full-time researcher. Yeah, so the 3-step process to get there. Yeah, projectnanda.org. Yeah. What do you think? Is it working?
Just testing.
Yeah, can you say something, Maria?
Yeah, can you guys hear me? Am I audible? No?
All right, they're still struggling with it. So we'll try for 5 more minutes, or else we'll move on to the next part. Go ahead. By the way, is Ashish here? Ashish Chauhan? Oh, you're here. Excellent. Awesome. Yeah, go ahead. Right. Yeah. So the question was, as we move from centralized AI to decentralized AI, how does the governance work? Should the governance purely be technical, algorithmic, or should there be human elements for it? And I think as a society, we're almost never going to be ready to have a purely algorithmic governance. There'll always be some mistakes, in some minor glitches, incomplete piece of code that will make it impossible to make it foolproof. So it's okay to slow things down and have some human governance in that as well. So that's my opinion. Maybe I'm old-fashioned. I think some people talk about blockchain will say, no, just make it completely like DAOs. And but you know what happened to FTX, what happened to Luna and Terra, and all the experiments we have done, and purely algorithmic trading and your pure algorithmic governance. So maybe I'm old-fashioned. So that's why even to run the phone book, the directory of trillions of agents, we said let's involve 15 neutral entities, which in the future could be 50 or even 100, and the humans looking at what's going on, and they can decide some policies. For example, if somebody walks up here and says, I want a particular agent name, like Microsoft, I'm just, you can just give it to me because I have a shop on the street called, Microsoft Coffee, right? So there are repetitions. There could be squatting. There could be, again, rent seeking, and so on. So you need some human governance to overcome that because the systems are never completely connected.
Testing.
So if somebody says, "Hey, just look up my, computer registration that actually owns a company called Microsoft," those are still complicated to do because the North Koreans would say, "Hey, we're going to sell whatever domain name we want," and so on. So maybe we, put North Korea as a separate entity. They can do whatever they want inside the Asian store of North Korea, but they're going to disturb everybody else. So I think this all requires human governance to some extent. But again, if are you in the policy space or you're a faculty in the linker? So clearly, our the next generation is to start learning about this kind of policy making and governance as well.
Hello, just testing. Can you hear me?
So Maria, I think you're going to not put your audio and what but it's going to get echoing. Okay, so I'm going to speak, but this is all right. So Maria just going to show the slides apparently, and I'm going to talk about it. Let's see if I can do as good a job as you do.
All right, sounds
Go
good.
for it. So we're going to talk about the Nanda Sandbox for the next few minutes. And as I said, it's a platform to create, R&D. So if your company, your startup, your governments, how to scale testing. We're talking about going from hundreds to millions to billions of agents. You need to test them. If you have a new protocol, if you have new technology, test them as well. And also infrastructure. If you're going to add payments to it, you're going to add identity to it, you're going to add insurances. All those protocols have to be tested. So right now we are already at hundreds of agents. If you go to index.projectnanda.org, that's doing that. And we're using existing protocols like MCP and A2A and so on. And then Maria's just going to do like a quick walkthrough of how the website looks. So right now we have about 12,000 or so agents, and there are many of them. Some of them are made by us. There's a pipeline builder, there's a cyber regulator, and then every agent also has its own agent passport, right? So as I said, just like an agent used to have its own Aadhaar card, I think every agent used to have its own passport. So the description in the passport is very detailed. Its name, who gave you this passport, who gave you this card, where are you based, what's your endpoint for this? There's information about your capabilities. So I might say, hey, I'm an agent that can help you on mental health, but you must get a certificate from somebody else that you're allowed to, be an agent that that does mental health. There are whether you're streaming or not. If you go back to the list 39 and scroll down, there's certifications. So all your organization could be in the business of certifying agents. For example, telemetry, what's the uptime, what's the speed, and so on, right? So it's like the passport that the agent carries all the time. Go ahead. And then, you can see the map of where all these agents are. This is all live right now. There are hundreds of agents that are, some of them created by us, some of them created by you, and many others. And they're constantly talking to each other, right? So this starts looking like the internet of AI agents. And the green lines show the connection that's happening between agents simultaneously. Right now, these are all clear box agents. I mean, they're telling us what they're doing. But of course, in the future, there'll be black box agents that won't tell us what they're doing. But that's fine. But for testing and sandboxing, we keep them as clear box. And you can see they're talking all the time. It's like 1 minute ago, if you see on the right side, the social media agent is talking to the event planner agent, is talking to the philosopher agent, the video maker agent, and so on. Again, many of these are created by us, but as other people, like the toy company that's creating a children's toy, would be here and saying, hey, send questions to this toy. And you can ask good questions or really terrible questions to see how the toy agent is going to work, and you can analyze that. So if you're a developer, go to this page, /deploy, and right now it uses Python, Anthropic API keys, and CLI from AWS, and you can be up and running in about half an hour to create your own agents. And you can take existing Crew AI, LangChain, ADK agents, and deploy these as well. Excellent. That's it. I don't think I did as good a job as Maria, but let's thank Maria one more time. All right. So we'll switch over. Thank you, Maria. Get some sleep. All right. So we'll switch over. So in the meantime, we want everybody to go and create their agents. Go to join39.org. And then if you have time, go to the LinkedIn page, 37. Can you hear me? Okay, good. So, create your own AI agent. You can do it from your phone in 1 minute. Go to tiny.cc/2007 and kind of, post about your project, any ideas you have. And then in a minute, we'll be talking about the Innovation Council, how you can join our WhatsApp group or LinkedIn groups or Discord and so on.
Yeah, so everyone, thanks for dropping in on a Saturday afternoon. And as Ramesh very rightly said, EV के काम के लिए agents तो आजकल में नहीं हो रहा है. So let's hope we can get this and make this a learning for us and do it better next time. So just an introduction about myself. I actually am a Bombay-based startup founder. I run a B2B e-commerce company called Bezongo. It's a platform offering supply chain solutions and digitization platform for SMEs, which offers financing as well. Interestingly, earlier this year, had gone to meet Ramesh at Boston, and during that meeting, which I had kind of requested him for, I thought that he'll tell me कि यार चलो Starbucks में बैठ के coffee पी लेते हैं. He ended up saying कि नहीं class में आ जाओ. So he told me at 7:58 a.m. that 8 a.m. का class है. So it was very interesting. When I went to the class, I didn't know what I was listening to. But inside the class had just 30 startups, and those startups were formed across different schools within the MIT Harvard ecosystem. So there were some humanities graduates looking at AI agents, some history people looking at AI agents, and they were actually coming up with ideas and presenting inside the class. So I saw that, and then I requested Ramesh ki when we think of taking it as an infrastructure play to India, I would love to be involved. So that's the connect, and that's the story. So yeah, thanks for dropping in here. What we'll do now is that we will probably talk about a couple of things. One is that outside the Boston and the Bay Area chapter for the entire Project NANDA, we are launching this as the third chapter, which is the Bombay chapter. And yeah, so the purpose, I think it's sort of been portrayed by Ramesh already. There are like a couple of different subdivisions within the entire Nanda structure. It starts off from startups and VC networking to probably social hackathons, etc. And these would be like a few subdivisions. We can go to the projectnanda.org URL and check it out for yourself. There's a GitHub page that also shows what it does and why. And also very interestingly, we will just show you a form. That form has a link to a Innovation Council membership. So all of you here are the first people essentially in India, which we are opening up this council for. And this is not going to be just a closed group setup ki, okay, Ramesh is visiting from Boston once in 2 years, and we get all together and we listen to some really great stuff happening. We have to, as a country as a whole, we have to participate in and lead the conversation in making AI agents come to life. So that's the purpose, to maintain a sense of continuity and to maintain a sense of purpose here. We'll just come to the WhatsApp channel, the Discord channel, as well as the LinkedIn subpage and the form link, very importantly. So would request if all of you could fill that up. And yeah, so just as a part of this, I think we are launching the Innovation Council here. If any of you are in the room, Ketan, I can see you are there. Please come over. And Ashok and Manish, are you here? Yeah, they're here. Please come over. Yeah, so they are accomplished founders in their own rights. They are running very successful businesses, and they have been gracious enough to lend us their time and also to kind of say that okay, they want to help create the next infrastructure for AI agents in India and make it more and more, I guess, India focused and India usable as well. So we'll start off with yeah, please, any of you, please go ahead. share a few words of wisdom of why this is something that you are interested to contribute to.
Hi, I'm Ashok. I'm the CEO and founder of IDFI. We are the trust stack of India. If you've done any KYC in the country, probably that went through us. Why I'm interested is essentially we use a lot of AI, obviously, at IDFI either to find fraud as well as to assess risk. But what is important, I think, last time when we heard Ramesh, the one thing my background has been in telecom, so for me, protocol stacks is how I think about things. And if we can build a great protocol stack in this agentic framework, that makes things much easier for agents to talk to each other. And that's where I'm coming from, because it's taking me back to my old world view of how things used to work in the telecom world.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Manish Lunia. I run a company called Nexi Loans. We are a fintech lender. My interest here, I think when I met Ramesh recently, I think the fact that people like Ramesh are actually traveling to India, I think that seeing him come the third time at least in the last couple of months or more, and spending time for the development of this country and projects like this is a great thing, right? So getting associated with when people invest time, effort, energy to make the country forward, I think one area why I want to get invested in it. Two, I think interesting thought process he discussed today, he discussed in our previous sessions, is that each of us will act via our agents transactionally over the time. And I've never been so excited. Most of us have never been so scared about when you are asking about jobs, when you're asking about blockchain, etc. Most of us know that AI will rule how we engage, transact, live over the next 5 years. Blockchain about 15 years ago, or Bitcoin about 15 years ago, people knew of it, know how important it is, right? So if you were to think 10 years ahead of time, you know that you are at the cusp of knowing the technology, being a part of the revolution, and I think that's what India needs to do, students need to do. I want to be associated, learn in the process. That's it.
Thank you. So my name is Ketan Bhagwate, and I run a startup in My City Central. We are primarily into e-commerce, and our entire focus is on how to make e-commerce frictionless and more predictable for sellers. So there's a lot of work going on the buyer side. A lot of people talking about how to do buying very frictionlessly. You want to buy something and you just put in the parameters to Perplexity and they show you maybe 50 products and all those sort of things. But what about sellers? Because unless until you really don't have sellers and millions of them, wanting to sell their products onto the digital framework, how are buyers really going to get those products? In fact, if you really look at the Indian MSME sector, there are crores and crores of manufacturers. We have been, talking about all these small scale manufacturers wanting to digitize and go online. And it's very difficult for a small seller to actually click a photograph, write a good content, maybe, create the right catalog for different type of marketplaces and try to sell it, then, process the order, pack it, pick it, ship it, then track the order, get the payments and all this sort of things. It's a whole lot of things. So, whether he's going to do the business or he's going to keep on managing all this sort of things. So this is where the agents are going to come into picture. We are trying to create a AI agentic framework, which will sort of manage this entire e-commerce ecosystem for them, make it very frictionless so that they focus on making their products rather than managing the orders, managing the content, managing the catalog, and that is given to the entire agent. So the agents are going to communicate. They are the ones who are going to, sort of talk to the buyer agents and sort of see to it. So tomorrow there is a shawl manufacturer. He is now the winter is coming in. The shawl manufacturer wants to really sell the stocks. They have made a lot of stocks of blue shawls. The agent knows that there is more stock of blue shawl than the black shawl. The agent pushes the blue shawl more, knows the break-even prices, see to it that the price doesn't go below that particular thing, actually negotiates and sees to it that the orders are maintained. So it's a very still a high-level thought process, but that's where we are going towards, and that's what we are working on. And Dr. Raskar has been immensely helpful in sort of energizing our thought process in this direction. The entire Nanda architecture and as well as the Nanda phone book or the Nanda registry, as we call it, is a very important thing around which this entire framework will revolve around. We look at taking the Indian MSME across the globe through this framework, which will make things very flawless, frictionless, as well as predictable for millions of Indian manufacturers. And trust me, the amount of manufacturing that India does, it's really massive. MSME has about roughly, Ministry of MSME has about roughly 3 crore registered enterprises. Ministry of Textile under their this of Handicraft and Handloom has about roughly 60 lakh enterprises, and all of them are completely in the non-digitized zone. That is where we sort of eventually want to take. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. So yeah, thanks a lot for your respective introductions and your purpose behind this as well. So please guys, feel free to scan the QR codes. And the first one being the form link to join the Innovation Council as members. The second is that WhatsApp announcement group that we have. The third is we already have a LinkedIn Nanda page. We are doing a LinkedIn Nanda Mumbai page separately as well for the Mumbai chapter. Please follow and join and show us some love there. And of course, if you had a good experience except the AV glitches, please do talk about that. And the last is the Discord channel. Please go ahead and take a few seconds and please scan it and join it.
All right, thank you everyone. All right, so we come to the most exciting part of the evening. And for that, I'm going to invite Mr. Shashank Singh on the stage from Kumbh Mela, and also Mr. Ashishkumar Chauhan, the head of NSC. Give a big warm welcome. And while we're getting ready, just stand in your chair and just stretch. Anybody has a good yoga pose, just try that. Everybody stand up. And I know you've been sitting there for almost 2 hours. So just stretch. Sounds good. All right. So I'm going to start off with a couple of questions with Mr. Ashishkumar Chauhan about his take. So the topic for the discussion is going to be, I mean, these are really influential people, both of them. They can make, you're going to deal with crores of people coming to Kumbh Mela. Ashish, I don't know how many lives you touch and how many billions of dollars. I'll give you the microphone. Somebody give you the microphone. And if they decide, amazing things can happen for the agentic web. So Ashish, I'll ask you first question, which is maybe give us a scale of how many people you touch, and then based on that, what opportunities do we have to create a sovereign kind of governance for the agentic web?
Today,
you can sit down if you want, by the way.
NSC was set up in '92, and it was the first fintech of India, first public digital infrastructure of India. And today, it has 23.5 crore accounts, 12 crore unique accounts, that is 12 crore PAN numbers, 3 crore women, 9 crore men. It touches around 25% of all Indian households. And it accounts for 1/3 of India's wealth, around $5.3 trillion that is listed on NSE. And if you add the debt which is listed, it would be probably one more $1 trillion, so it will be $6.3 trillion. So every year we raise around 250 billion, 220 to 250 billion dollars of funds. On a good day, we get 2,000 crore orders, which is similar to what UPI gets in a month. Our day is 6 hours, UPI day is 24 hours, and things like that. So, and we give you response time in microseconds. Some markets now we have started giving response time in nanoseconds, which is 10⁻⁹ seconds and stuff like that. But this is the most important IT entity of India, that is National Stock Exchange, and naturally for India's wealth, this is the most important activity. Of course, if you want to make money, then again NSE is where you make money. as entrepreneurs, but also as people who trade and things like that. So this is where I've come from. I've of course worked in many other areas, including setting up Mumbai Indians, running IT for Reliance Industries, Reliance Infocom, setting up or designing satellite telecom network first time in India in '92, and working in literally 20, 30 industries of different types, from manufacturing to services to schools and colleges. I'm also Chancellor of Allahabad University. I'm also on the board of IIM Calcutta. I'm on the advisory board of School of Management IIT Bombay. I'm on the board of Universities Grant Commission and a few other things. So that's broadly my introduction.
We can have you here. Shekhar, give us some scale of how you're thinking about for some background and also your view of opportunities in the digital world for Kumbh Mela. Yeah, your own background as well.
I'm an engineer, civil engineer from IT, and then a structural engineer from University of California, Berkeley. Came back to India in 2012. I've been going around Maharashtra since then, from Gadchiroli to Pune to various places in Nashik. I think Nashik Kumbh, as Professor Raskar has already mentioned, there were a couple of things there on the slide as well. It's absolutely, Prayagraj was the biggest pop-up city. Nashik, Triambak would become one of the biggest pop-up cities in the world. And the kind of AI agentic stack or the city agentic stack that Professor Raskar was mentioning about, I think that is something that is, we begin to feel, frankly, my mind also did open. Sarkari people are not that attuned. We are increasingly becoming attuned to technology. But still, my mind also opened up to a lot of possibilities, what I can do. First thing I need to go back is to create my own Kumbh authority agent, first of all, so that then probably we can begin to think about agentic web and things like that. But I think there are a lot of problem statements that are existing for us in multiple things. There was a ring that Professor Raskar showed, the lowest one, which he said, you guys don't need to intervene. Probably you need to intervene even there as well. For example, crowd management, mobility, etc. Mobility is one of the biggest challenges that I'm, it's been just 15 to 20 days. But one of the first things that I have noticed is that a lot of the mobility plans that we have made till now are mostly to do with institutional memory. But intelligence from an AI perspective, otherwise, and various other things can go beyond institutional memory to tell us what the best fit or the best optimized mobility plan is. And that is even where I'm also looking for some solutions. And of course, there are a lot of other things, right? Someone looking to book something, someone trying to register themselves, various other people who are trying to interact with various organizations and other things. So I think there are a lot of problem statements out there. Still little early days for me in Kumbh, but Rishabh is there, Kumbhathon, the whole organization is there. Any of you who really feel you can pitch in, contribute, I think I'm all ears for that. Thank you.
Excellent. So in terms of scale, I think a lot of people may not realize that, but I think the 2015 Kumbh, where I was very involved, MIT team was very involved, and of course Kumbhathon was founded back then, had about 30 million people, about 3 crore people go by. I think this time it could double that easily.
Absolutely double, and the kind of the enthusiasm that has been there. Right. Earlier, a lot of these, I don't know how many of these young chaps have visited Prague, but I know a lot of them who visited. Earlier, that wouldn't be the case, that's frankly speaking. Right. Social media is also one of the reasons for that, and we are absolutely expecting something around about 80 million, even though it's a little bit difficult to extrapolate those numbers. But something in the range of about 80 million to about 100 million. That is the kind of crowd that we are expecting. And on a single day, we feel the maximum could be about 10 million, right, which is those Shahi Snan or Amrit Snan, which are two in August and 1 in September. And one very critical thing about Nashik Kumbh versus Prayagraj is that Nashik happens, as you know already, in a very congested part of the city, versus Prayagraj, where you have swaths and swaths of land, almost about 10,000 acres and more than that. And also the segregated part, one is in Triambak, one is in Nashik, and the monsoon adds to the entire complexity. So those are the few things which just make it a little bit of fun.
Whether you may not know this, but I and my family grew up in Nashik. Yeah, so it is a very, very, very amazing place. From spirit to spiritual, from Sulavanj to Kumbh Mela. It has everything in it. And imagine now, 80 million, 100 million is like 8 crore or 10 crore people. If every one of them has their own agent, how smooth, it could become maybe even smoother than running Olympics. So Ashish, we're talking about how back in the days versus now, India is a very different system. You're talking about microsecond level transactions for hundreds of billions of dollars of activities. So when it comes to creating sovereign solutions for AI agents and agentic web, what's your take? Like, what role can you individually as well as NSC can play on some of the things?
In a way, NSC started the IT revolution, and naturally, NSC is a large public interest entity in India. So it has a stake in creating the agentic AI framework, whether we call it sovereign or international, because in some ways, the physicality of sovereign, having boundaries and all, that goes away as soon as you go to the conceptual things. And conceptual things scale up very fast, move very fast, and they don't obey our physical boundaries. And so it will have to be kind of a common, sort of a good across the world. And 2 hours back, there is a news that President of China, Xi Jinping, has suggested that there should be a AI governing body at the international level, and American entities or companies should not be capturing everything like what they did for the World Wide Web or even mobile registries and other things. And I think I, in a way, agree with that when all these IT and other things were coming up, we were actually hardly hand to mouth 4 years back when I recall. And so a few $1,000s could basically buy some of the best players from India or best brains from India. 30, 40 years we have come a long way. And today, although we have still not had sort of our own models, but we would be developing most of what they have developed, and we are not too far behind. And as and when the governance of agents or otherwise any movements or any developments in AI, because 2 years back it was AI, this year it's agentic AI, tomorrow it could be something else. Whatever happens, India will have a large say, and naturally NSC is the largest IT entity in terms of the usage. You may have TCS, you may have Infosys, but they have people. We have the usage. And we have the usage for India, not in a way, we are literally the only entity which works only for India and not outside the world. And we have a large say, and we'll do whatever it takes for India to have some say in overall governance, overall conceptual action, overall way of thinking going forward in terms of agentic AI, but everything else.
And when it comes to this choke point of the phone book for AI agents, you're just telling me earlier that that's something that you had some strong opinions about.
Absolutely. For the way the DNS came, we saw it was pretty much coming out of the US from their internet project, DARPA, which started, and that's how it was basically given where none of us could do anything. And then the mobile came, and that time also, when I was involved in setting up the largest mobile network of India those days, and also running most of the billing for that and other things. And then also we realized that we were far ahead in terms of the mobile data, but we did not create those gatekeepers, which finally the US companies, Google created for Android and Apple created for iOS, because of which now literally every type of traffic, every application, whether you make or not, it has to go through them. And all these directory listings are basically like that. Even Google, when it came, there were like 15, 20 different search engines, all Americans those days. Alta Vista and Yahoo and Lycos and whatever names. Google killed all of them, but they were all American companies, and we were actually watching with awe, saying what they can do. It could have been done by me or you. So don't get impressed. Good to hear, but finally we will have to have a say when the AI framework or AI directories are being built or AI roads are being built. That's how we have to as a country, as collective, we'll have to have that say. And that's why learn everything, but finally, and participate. We are not people trying to capture everything like the US did. Now probably China wants to participate, but in capturing that, it's what I call a US+1 model, which started being talked about last week onwards when the US president met Chinese president saying we'll divide the world into two. Earlier they divided world into two between US and Russia. And now they're trying to do same between US and China and nobody else. And for me, that is not going to happen if all of us work collectively.
And I would add to that saying it's not even about the US as such. It's just that it's a monopoly or duopoly. And it doesn't really matter whether the US or not. And the same thing in India. If the whole agentic web is run by one or two companies, that won't be, any different than a US company running it.
That's right. So, and our approach to, as a country, our approach is basically creating public good. Like UPI is unique in a way, NS is unique in a way. Even Co-Win was unique in a way. We created a framework where people can connect and make their own stuff like flexi loans and other things. Whereas in US, you have PayPal, which is slightly closer to UPI, but their banks, they don't interact. If you have to move money from one account to another, one mobile to another, it is still impossible. I call US like a 20th century technology in 21st century. But basically that is how their framework is to allow few companies to capture. China's is one company itself, not a country. Ours is a framework of creating public good where all of you can become entrepreneurs, plug into that, do your own thing.
Fascinating, fascinating. Ashish, we need your leadership here to make sure the whole world, as I said, not just India. So, the Bombay Stock Exchange, NSC, also telecom companies, and the cricket team. So he's done a lot of things in the city. So Shekhar, coming to this amazing opportunity that you could have 80 million, 100 million people, and there has to be a starting point. One could argue that things like UPI took off because of the unfortunate pandemic or because of demonetization. There were some events or incidences that were not either predicted or at least chaotic in case of pandemic, which caused this massive change in the digital ecosystems. I would say Kumbh Mela is predictable and it's not going to be as chaotic, but has a similar scale. And you could imagine some really new digital ecosystems could emerge if 80 million people, either through some inducement or because of some mandate, are suddenly adopting it on, I guess, July of 2027. Is that right? And of course, the work has to happen before that. And here we're just talking about AI agents. I think a lot of people say, oh, we should just have apps. But if you're a 70-year-old woman, Sita Bai from Patna, coming from Kumbh Mela, she's not going to click on the apps and be, iske liye train kahan dekhu, iske liye ye kahan dekhu, meri diabetes hai kahan. When I was in Prayagraj and I had a headache and I had plenty of money, but I could not figure out where to get the medicine. There are rows and rows of shops, but there is no ecosystem. The infrastructure is amazing, but the access, the digital access is very challenging. So agents could make those things much easier because Sita Bai can just talk to her phone, the agent, and the agent behind the scenes can talk to everybody else. Anyway, do you see, like in your team and so on, are you seeing various technologies that could play a role? And what would you say to the innovators, entrepreneurs, and scientists about whether Nashik, like how welcoming would Nashik be to try out some of those ideas?
Nashik and authority will be absolutely welcome. That is something that I can absolutely say today. But there's a lot of things, Professor Raskar, so even with the agents being there, so if Ramabai or the example that you gave, if Sita Bai, so if she's asking, right, where do I get the medicine from? I think the first and foremost thing is the data availability being there, and that is something that I've always felt that in a country, even before we go on to an AI or an LLM, other things, like for example, I was saying in governments, for example, in the way that our systems work. There is a lot of systems which are still not on ERPs. We don't have the data which is getting generated to that extent. So first of all this data, digitization will also need to be done for all those layers to be available for various AI agents. But you're correct. I think some sort of an inducement, some incentive, I won't say disincentivization, but some level of incentivization which really props that up. But to your second part of the question, as I said, I'm still on the learning curve. But one thing is there, absolutely open to collaborate. Rishabh, me, both can be really good starting points for any one of you who would want to pitch in.
And I believe Rishabh and team are already running some immersion programs for founders and entrepreneurs. And I believe you have a large kind of innovation, I forget what it's called, like an innovation fund or innovation kind of a pot of money, basically.
We can do that, yeah.
Okay, absolutely. Okay, fantastic. So make sure you look up Mr. Shashank Singh. We'll flash his WhatsApp signal here. When I send a message to Mr. Shashank Singh, he'll reply within minutes, even like middle of the night. I don't know when you sleep. So thank you for being there. And I mean, here are two individuals who already are going to touch tens of maybe hundreds of millions of lives, and can really help us think about the agentic web in a very unique way. Thank you so much for joining us.
I now request Mr. Gaurang Shetty to felicitate Professor Ramesh Raskar, Shri Ashishkumar Chauhan, Mr. Shashank Singh, and Mr. Aniket Din. And with that, we bring this extraordinary event to a close. One that hasn't just celebrated technology, but defined what the future could look like. A massive thank you to our brilliant guests, visionary speakers, and unstoppable teams from Project NANDA, riidl, and team. Your passion and purpose have made tonight unforgettable. But this isn't the end, it's just the beginning. The ideas sparked today deserve to grow, evolve, and collide. So stay back, connect, collaborate, and keep the conversations alive during the networking session. Thank you.